We're at a client's house. This client, we're taking a look at the different types of modifications we can do to her home to make sure she can live here safely for a long time. First thing we want to notice here in this particular situation, we do kind of have a step here in my threshold. That's okay for a walker for right now, but as we're getting into a situation where our legs are becoming a little less useful, we want to be ready for a wheelchair. Also, this opening here, it may look a little bit difficult to make it wider, but it will need to be widened. It's not that difficult. A couple bricks can be cut down and it can be modified fairly easily with not too much cost. But this is something we want to modify for a home for someone who is aging. We want that doorway to be a lot wider, at least 3 feet. 36 inches is the standard for that. All right, well actually let's talk a little bit more about the door here. As we're inside, let's talk about how this door handle here, and we tend to want to push that. That can squeeze fingers as you're getting older. That can cause some pain. That's probably a door handle that wants to be a lever handle that you would push down like so to open. That's going to be a lot easier for someone as they're aging. And again, we're talking about the same situation with this door here. We want to have kind of a lever type of handle for the door. Just makes it a lot easier. These light switches are okay. They're basically common toggle switches. If we get these into touch switches though, they're going to be a lot easier for someone to hit with a knuckle, to push up and down to turn them off and on. And that's going to be a lot easier for someone, again, who's got arthritis. There we go. Someone with low dexterity would start to have issues with these light switches. So just the push button light switch is just, again, it's an inexpensive modification, but it's something that's really going to be making this a lot simpler for someone who's older to operate. So here in the kitchen, we got a couple things going for us. Number one, we do have some room in here. So a walker can get in here. So if a single person was living by themselves and they needed to come in here and fix a meal or prepare something, this provides an adequate amount of space. There can be some improvement though. Widening this kitchen would be wise. Obviously, you'd have to take this wall into the living room a bit to widen this and make it more comfortable. But as someone ages coming in here, as you can see with a wheelchair, it'd be just a little bit tighter. There would probably have to be some additional care provided for the person in a kitchen like this. Taking a look at the cabinets here, someone who can stand. These cabinets are a little bit sticky, could be a little bit tougher to open. We might want to look at some handles here that are going to be easy for the hand to grab and pull. And we probably want to do some modifications, do something to make these doors operate just a little bit more functional. Same thing with here, we got some smaller handles here, we got some sharper edges, some bigger handles really just to modify this and make this easier to open. It's going to make this a lot more comfortable to live in. And again, these are inexpensive fixes. These are something that a handyman can do. This is something that really, small modifications like this can make a house like this just a little easier to operate. And that's what we want. We want a lot more easeability for someone who's aging here. So. All right, so take a look at the back door here. That's actually a really good thing. This door is going to be easy to handle. And it's got a nice lock here. This really doesn't need a lot of modification. The door seems to slide pretty good, so that's good. I would say that this is probably an adequate door for someone to use. I might want looking into a handle that gets my hand out here a little bit further. It's probably about the only thing I would want to modify about this. But other than that, this is the right idea. This is what we want to stick with. If we step out here. The screen door, again, still ease of use. We want to make sure that everything we have is easier to use. In fact, these steps are very user-friendly. They're up to code. They're wide enough. The problem here is, again, we have easeability of entrance into the house here. So we really want to start thinking about taking this and really turning it into a ramp. The width is fine. It's about 36 inches. This will be fine. Your ramps are going to need to be about a 1-inch pitch. And what that basically means is for every foot of length, you're going to be raising up 1 inch. That's going to be someone who can be pushed into a house with ease, and they can actually operate the wheelchair by themselves. It's also what a scooter can do if they're an electrified scooter. So that pretty much covers the outside here and the accessibility. All right, again, in a bedroom like this, we do have, in fact, it's really not a bad thing to have just a little bit of tightness here with something to grab onto. I'd like to see it to where someone could actually take a walker and actually get access to all the way around the bed here. But this is good. This is adequate. I would feel comfortable having someone older live here with this with the furniture the way it is. So I wouldn't worry about this too much. Getting into stuff like this here, we've got about a 1/4 inch of a indent here on this closet. Fingertips. This is another thing. Fingertips can become very sensitive for someone who's aging. We probably want to get something a little bit deeper than this, or again, get a handle that can actually open this up. The only problem you hit then is basically the hand hitting this if the door comes all the way open. So you'd probably want to put something here that softens the blow if the hand does go that far. But really what I would be concerned about here is just the easeability of opening this. These are okay, but again, for someone who's getting older, that could start to become a problem. So that's something I would watch out for. The person who's living here right now, not a really big deal for them. It looks like they can operate it pretty good, but just some future stuff to look out for. This right here, obviously, was built a long time ago. It's definitely not to code. This opening is about 24 inches. Not adequate for a walker. In this case, we've got, they put a handrail in for her so that she could get here. Now she's without a walker, and now she's in a situation where she's basically on her own here. There's no apparatus that she can walk with the whole way through. She's got to depend on a cane. And really, we're just in an environment that this could become unstable for her. We really want to think about widening this bathroom, taking this in here about a good 12 inches and really just making it to where she can walk in here with a walker. And then finally, we have a sink here. We got handles that are going to work pretty good. They open and they're going to open like this. They don't have the handle here, the bad pill bottle turning movement there. We want to stay away from that. What we want to get into, what we want to start looking at in this bathroom here is we want this tub to go away. And we really want to get into a zero entry tub system for someone who wants to come in here and take a shower. Someone who can get in here with a wheelchair, and then they can position themselves onto either a chair in the tub, or they could even just roll in here with a walker, and they'd have zero entry. That's another modification that I'd like to see in here for someone who's getting along in years, just so they have that confidence, that dignity of being able to bathe themselves. So. That's what I see. I see there's a towel bar here that's fairly sturdy. That can be used as a handle if necessary. And then obviously there's these handles here. So those are good things. Those are things that are going to help her now. Again, I'd like to see her be able to get in here with a walker. So that's a concern I'd have, and I would want to address that immediately. One last thing on this in the bathroom here is this threshold. That can be a trip hazard. We want to get this threshold as really close to the floor as possible. This is one of those places, again, even with the door this narrow and her coming into this area, this becomes potential trip hazard, especially if she's got a cane or something like that. She's been able to navigate this. I'm sure she's stepping over it at this point in time, but if someone is just walking with her feet sliding on the floor like this, you can tell how that now becomes something that is a potential trip hazard. So we'd want to see if that threshold, we want to get that as low as possible. So one more item really quick we want to address is throw rugs. In a situation where we have somebody who is aging in place, we want to make sure that this throw rug is, we got some really good rubber back here so it doesn't slip. Honestly, I'd like to see this go away completely. I know they're comfy and cozy, but what we have here is if someone were to get onto this and they were to slip, or this bunches up like so, it really is, it can disorient you really quickly, especially if you don't have that muscle movement that you're used to having when you're younger, and that can also become a trip hazard. So in a situation like this, I'd like to see this actually go away, but at the very least get some rubber sticky on the bottom here to make this a lot less slipperier.